Well, what do you think is the best thing that someone's been fined by the UCI for?
Probably like glasses. Oh, the best actual worthwhile.
No, not worthwhile. Like the best thing that someone's done and you think, fine, really?
In terms of like the funniest thing, it's probably this glasses thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's ridiculous. Or someone having the socks too high.
Yeah. Or what about, who was it that stopped and kissed his wife during the Tour de France? And it made like international headlines that he'd done that and it was beautiful. Was it Galopin?
I think no.
No, it wasn't.
It was a French rider.
Yeah, but I can't remember who it was now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I generally think the UCI think, right, we need to pay for dinner tonight. We need to hand out a few fines. Let's chuck them out a little bit.
Should I go do the show?
Yeah, let's go do it. Thank you.
So what are we chatting anyway? Amstel,
Brabantspiel,
and a little bit of Lidl Trek. Skjelmose in Dutch, godne.
Can we be quiet, please? I also think Tadej didn't bring he's not wearing white shorts.
That's clearly what made the difference.
The fireworks are exploding at the Amstel Gold Race. He's leading Alaphilippe behind.
Van Dijk goes on her next attack here, and they're looking around at each other.
A nod to Skjelmose and a come with me.
Front on fourth, look, compared to Remco there, look.
Okay, yeah. So Remco's obviously not lower.
Look there, just doesn't look aero, does it?
300 metres now for Misha Bredewold. Perfectly timed move. This is a huge moment for the 24-year-old Dutch rider. Bredewold takes it.
I can't believe she's only 24.
It's Evenepoel on the left-hand side. It's Skjelmose coming around. They're all coming to the line together. They do, and it's Skjelmose who's done it. It's incredible. What a moment.
You've got to be in contention. You've got to be so patient. Park Peterson now makes a move. Is it going to be the classic victory? Park Peterson is going to take her first big classic win.
Tadej Pogačar hits the steep bend, and can anyone follow? Ben Healy is left floundering. Well, he's just floated up that climb as if it didn't exist. It's victory in Fleche, Wallonne 2025.
What did you think of Skjelmose then? Like, essentially, you guys always talk about somebody being a bit sneaky, if you like conserving all their energy, hiding in the back. I love it when they do that because it's obviously the only way that they're going to be able to win that race, and especially against Remco and Tadej.
I think he was super lucky he was with Remco, number one, because he could rely on Remco to do the majority of the work. Number two, he obviously had the legs, that he could play the bluffing card constantly throughout that race. I think in an interview he said, I asked Remco to do the pulls on the climbs because he was like that, so he was knackered. But Remco's knackered, they're all knackered, but it's just him being in that situation. He's not been there before.
Yeah.
So I think he was just playing it down, which perfect thing to do, but that'll be the last time he'll be able to do that.
Yeah, I think Skjelmose did it perfect. He wasn't the favourite. Pogačar and Remco are the favourites, and he played his card well and saved his energy. And he did what he had to do. For me as well, watching it, I thought at times he was maybe a little bit generous.
Who?
Skjelmose.
Why?
Wow, because it's Remco and it's Pogačar. So, I thought, that's perfect.
Yeah.
See, this is a funny thing, isn't it? Like, Steve was very tactically aware with these situations. If you got someone like Remco and Tadej up the road, you'd be looking at him, and I'd just be like, I would never do it, and I won't be in that situation, but you'd be like, there's no chance I'm going to pull with you. Like,
Remco rode that final climb all the way to finish on the front. So
yeah, he did that.
Yeah.
Kind of already knew that maybe he wasn't going to get it, but it was obviously today. Probably they thought he was going to get the sprint. In the
It was brilliant.
I think with Tadej as well, the nice thing with that is he fully cracked. Like, even in an interview after, he said, I think it was to Skjelmose or Remco behind the podium.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, going into that headwind, I cracked.
Yeah, it was to
Completely
Remco.
cracked, yeah. Which I find interesting because is it that saying to Remco, I just cracked, or you're catching me?
Do you reckon he's not aero enough? Maybe that's why he was beating it.
Yes, definitely not. I don't think he is, though. Like, I don't know. If you look at him, If you said, right, you're going to ride into a headwind at 50k an hour and you're going to go as hard as you can go, you'd get as low as possible, as aero as possible. If you look at him there, he just doesn't look like he's that low and that aero. And if you look at him on his TT bike, that man is one of the most aero people in the peloton. So I don't understand how his position changes so much between road bike and TT bike, apart from the obvious. But I don't know, you'd expect it to be a bit more aero.
Because this guy is maybe the best bike rider since Eddie Merckx. But that's one area where you look at how he's on the bike. Aerodynamics is maybe an area. We don't know because we haven't seen all the data on that from the wind tunnel, but visually he looks quite a big frontal area, so it looks like he could improve in that.
But what he did, Fleche, was ridiculous. It just shows how powerful he is, what a surge he has as well. When you see him racing against everyone else who are incredible bike racers, it looks like he's on different terrain.
Yeah, no one else had an answer for what he had today. Even just, saving themselves for that final climb on the wheel.
Do you reckon if you came into that full peak Steve-O, you could come in fresh at the bottom, 5k warm-up, and then race Tadej up there one time and still beat him or not?
No chance.
Really?
Yeah, like full fresh Steve-O.
Hey, what about Misha Bredewold then in the women's race?
Impressive.
Phenomenal though, wasn't it? With the riders that she was coming to that finish line against to win solo for her first Classics win. Really impressive.
I always think Amstel is a really impressive race, and if you can win Amstel, you can go on to win many more races, and you should be able to win a lot more after that, because it's like a Worlds. Amstel's like a mini Worlds where it suits every type of rider. A cobbled rider, a pure climber, a Classics rider, Grand Tour, whatever you are, it suits all of them across the board. So to win their solo is very, very impressive. I think after this now she'll go on to win more and more.
What about Puck Pieterse though in the women's race? That was phenomenal, wasn't it? First ever one-day race win for her.
I think it suits her though, doesn't it? Cyclist background, that real punchy, explosive, big kick at the end. It just suits her down to the ground, but I'm happy for her because she's a rider that's been kicking around in the top 10 for quite a while now.
And she stayed calm and then just once at the end. But there was a load of riders in contention into that final 200 metres as well, which was exciting.
I can't believe they left it till late.
I mean, it was hard though. It's hard.
Yeah, that's obvious.
Tell me why we are still seeing so much Dutch dominance in women's racing. We had an all-Dutch podium there. We had Ellen van Dijk, we had Puck Pieterse, as well as Misha Bredewold. I feel like we've been talking about Dutch riders at the very top of women's racing for such a long time. Well, we have.
It's the waffles.
It's the waffles.
Waffles.
I think everyone's on a bike so much earlier, and you find that talent, you find those strong riders on bikes. And in the UK, it's not that common for younger riders to get on bikes and to be able to find that talent from a younger age, potentially.
It's weird, though, because before I moved to the Netherlands, I assumed there'd be a lot of competitive racing at that age, and there's not so much, certainly that I see. Everybody's on bikes. It's a way of life. It's a form of transport. It's a natural way of getting around. But it's not like there is probably a much more vibrant club scene than in a lot of countries. But say, for example, my kids, there's not an obvious club that they can go to start road racing already.
Well, I think the main thing about the Netherlands is they've always had a rider before that, like Vos,
to emulate,
follow a little bit more. I think in England, you had Nicole Cook way back when, but it wasn't on TV as much. It wasn't really publicised as much, so young women getting involved didn't really know about it.
Yeah, it was much more niche.
There's so much more niche. I mean, Nicole Cook, she was world champion, Olympic champion. She was an incredible bike rider, but she's probably unheard of. For a lot of the women now in the peloton, won't even know her name. And she was racing with Vos. Like she was going toe-to-toe with her, which was mad.
Crazy. What about Brabant Spale then? That was Remco's first race back, wasn't it, from his horrific injuries. He's been talking about those injuries, though, and saying how it would have ended entire careers in other sports.
Makes it sound good, though, doesn't it, when you win?
Yeah, true.
That was how he said?
Yeah. If he was in another sport, it could have completely ended their career.
I wonder why another sport, like what, curling?
Basketball or
I
something?
think he said football, basketball.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know
he's not
why
a football, a basketball player then.
Well, he's a footballer, so he would know.
Yeah.
But
Do you know what is really impressive? Is it's coming out of that injury, number one, but it's coming back in that form.
Oh, amazing.
Like coming back.
In that race, when everyone...
against Wout.
I think for me, that's the most impressive thing. It's the victory, number one, but it's getting back in that top form to go, because normally you go into a race and you have to get a little bit race fit to get used to it. He's come back, gone on the attack, gone solo with one of the best Classics riders of our generation, and then showed him a clean pair of heels in a sprint against Wout van Aert. It's just mad.
Elisa Longo-Borghini, back-to-back wins for her there, coming off the back of that crash in Flanders, which looked horrendous. I think a lot of people assumed that's why she hadn't started Paris-Roubaix, but she was never intended to anyway for whatever reason. But amazing to see her not just back already, but then back winning. Speaking of Italians, then Giulio Ciccone.
Oh, the glasses.
Surely that's just a legit form of celebration. No, like, so I had my kids playing football yesterday, and through the course of playing football, my son had developed an entire like winning celebration on his knees, you know, kissing the sky.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Go on, so.
But in other sports, this is something you practice from that age. Like every time we scored a goal, watch a celebration, give us a celebration. In cycling, what do we get to do? Hands in the air. Or if you're winning from a long solo, get off the bike and hold the bike in the air. Come on, it must be allowed some sort of celebration, surely. Like throwing the glasses is now a Giulio Ciccone move.
I think mine was wide open or one-handed up.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty much it.
Original. Well done. Alice?
Mine was basic. I never pre-planned a celebration
Did you
because you
not?
never know when it's
I
going to
think
happen.
it would be good if
You
you did.
can't. Veeps, I think, pre-plans them because she wins all the time. But
Yeah.
I was just
Okay,
basic.
now you get the chance to pre-plan. What would your race winning celebration be?
I'm just straight out.
Yeah, like a whoop,
Yeah.
whoop. Can we get a whoop whoop?
Yeah.
Steve, what's yours?
Just standard.
Just not.
Just like traditional. Just put your
Hands out.
put whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
It's a
sometimes,
classic.
yeah.
You did once say it a few times.
What would your celebration be?
I'd probably try to take my hands off the handlebars and then fall over.
Okay, but if you didn't fall over, what would it be?
I like your little shoulder shimmy. Doug Ryder has been the driving force behind the first African team in the Tour de France, and is currently the general manager at Q36.5. The team that tempted Tom Pidcock to jump ship from Team Ineos. In the year that the UCI Road World Championships will take place on the African continent for the first time. We caught up with Doug and started by asking when his dream began.
I fell in love with cycling from the first day I actually got on a bike. I loved, the freedom and the independence, the fact that you could go anywhere at any time on your own. I rode all the way through school and then eventually ended up in the military and became Defence Force champion, and then tried to become a Springbok at that time, cyclist, to try and get to the Olympics, which I eventually did in 1996 in Atlanta. That Olympic Games was the time when the dream was born. Going to the Olympics was amazing. Trying to race in the Tour de France was a dream, which I never was able to achieve myself just because of the complexities of the sport at that time and the fact that South Africans weren't considered as bike riders or even an option. And so my goal was to try and change that. And so going to the Atlanta Olympic Games, Josiah Tugwani, the black South African marathon runner, won gold. And when he won that gold medal, it opened my eyes to say, if Africa can produce the best endurance runners, then why not cyclists? The first time I went to Europe and I went to go and see managers when I was starting a team to try and bring in some international riders into the team, they looked at me and they were like, who are you? So no, I'm Doug Ryder. From where? South Africa. Where's that? Africa, South. So it was really, really complicated and nobody came to see me. I had to go knock on doors and they didn't take us seriously at all. We had huge challenges in the beginning. We had to get visas, passports for riders. We had to select the riders that could take on Europe and be able to live there for 7 to 10 months. We had to have the infrastructure in place, the staff that would want to, support us because we were coming from a continent that didn't exist in the sport before. And so those kind of elements were critically important to be able to put together to make it real. And then to find a partner that would, cover the expenses, the fuel and just all of that stuff. It was unbelievably difficult. The motivation came from the riders, ultimately. When I saw the riders and they believed that they were right and ready to take on the rest of the world and felt that that was possible and believed in the dream, then that made it real. Because, there was nothing I could do without them. And I think when I could see in their eyes that it wasn't a pipe dream, that it was actually something that they felt they could make real, then that gave me the motivation to do it. 2012, I went to the ASO, to the organizer of the Tour de France, just to sell African cycling to them. I went to go and present Africa's dream, and I sat there and I said that we wanted to bring an African team to the Tour de France with black African riders in it, and they looked at me like I was a bit mad. And in fact, Jan Lemoneux actually believed in it. He looked at me and he was like, wow, this could be really, really interesting. When I told them that I only had funding for 3 years to do it, and they said, but you want to bring black African riders to the Tour de France in 3 years? And I said, yes. And they said, no, that's not going to happen. When I was chatting and putting this plan together, and I was still working, I worked in corporate for 11 years in IBM and Microsoft, and I met a man called Anthony Fitzhenry through that time that was the founder of Quebecer. And his dream was obviously to mobilize and move people on bicycles, to give them hope and opportunity and access to education and all the beautiful things that a bicycle can give you. And then when we had the opportunity to take this team to Europe, it was all about how can we use this team and its success and its global awareness and global presence in the world of cycling to make a difference to others. And that's where we started to work together. It was so nice to be able to have such a strong purpose and be a purpose-led team where our success was the success of somebody else. And that was just amazing. And then we united a whole lot of amazing riders into our team over the years, just because we had that strong value system. And people wanted to be a part of something that made a difference, where it wasn't about them, it was something far bigger. So there were so many things that made such a difference, but it was always around, having that strong value system. It's a privilege to be in sport at the highest level anyway, and then to be able to use that platform to make a difference to others, it's a no-brainer. You have a heart that beats inside of you. This is an easy thing to do, but you just got to put it front and center. And knowing the struggles that I had to try and make it and never made it as a rider, just because of the complexities of where we were. I mean, cycling is not a European sport. It's a global sport that should be available to every single person on the planet that has a dream and wants to be free and independent and make a difference. And I think that's the beautiful thing. And I realized that early enough through my own experience. And I just wanted to say, okay, how can we make and bring people together and give Africa a seat at the table as well and make a big difference. And now you look in Binion Gamay, the success that he's had.
Gamay is on the barriers here. It's going to be a throw to the line. Oh, Binion has done it. That is amazing. Oh, Gamay kicks back and says thank you very much.
To win in Tour de France, second year in the big bunch sprint, for me was unbelievable.
He was 13 years old when Daniel Tekla-Heimanot went to the Tour de France for the first time, watching the cycling in a cinema in Eritrea, in Asmara, because that's how they showed the race. They showed it in cinemas. They took over cinemas and put the race on live. I mean, thousands of people watched that race. It was brilliant. The Rwandan World Championships will be epic, the first World Championships on the African continent. I mean, when the world sees how beautiful Africa is, how beautiful its people are, how beautiful Rwanda is, the country of 1,000 mountains, it'll just lift everybody's perspective of Africa, I think. And the best riders in the world going there will be epic. And I think that'll open the door for African cycling, I think now forever. I mean, riders want races, races want riders. And I think for African cycling to develop, they need more races in Africa. And I think that would be the opening of that. And I strongly believe that there'll be some international investment that'll come with it. And that'll really, really, really be the next phase of African cycling and its journey to bring more riders into the world of cycling.
So it's really powerful, that, and I think we forget that sometimes. Whenever you're dealing with professional cycling all the time, you can forget that complete disconnect between the professional element of the sport and what actually cycling as a functional way of life represents to so many people. I think that's what's so powerful actually about what he did, is bridging that gap and allowing you guys as well to see that yes, the bicycle is a tool to propel you to a wonderful career and a wonderful lifestyle, but for so many people around the world, it is literally the vehicle that will help them to get out of the lives that they're in and make their lives better. And I find that really important, actually.
That interview was really, I don't know, I feel emotional now speaking about it, because it was really something that I was very close to, and the project and the words he's talking is the truth, and it is about bigger purpose, and sometimes as a European, before I went in that team, I was overly focused or overly just thinking about results, and it is really nice actually to be part of a team that we were linked to the charity and trying to raise awareness to something that's much bigger than just performance. And for me, it took pressure away, and it was like, let's go and show what we can do. And it was a great time for me as a bike rider, and also the riders in that team, not just me, but It was really enjoyable.
Because they used to have their team presentations, didn't they?
Yeah, and
on site, and you guys would go and deliver bikes.
Yeah, we went in. That's really humbling.
Yeah.
It's a privilege to be, and you take it for granted. You've been a pro 10 years or 13 or whatever, and you take it for granted, and it just becomes like 1, 2, 3, and then you go there and you realise like the hardships some of the people in the general population face, and it changes your outlook a little bit on life. And the characters as well we had in the team, there was a lot of African riders, and they've all got their stories, and it's so different to European teammates. And
that must have been quite something as well. I think sometimes with these kinds of projects, the thinking is, or the question is, well, will that produce the next Tour de France winner? Will that produce the next, top class rider? Does that matter for getting more people on bikes?
There always needs to be that deeper meaning, though, because unless you're winning bike races, then what else can you give to the sport? And you're winning bike races for yourself, but ultimately you're just an advertisement for the sponsors. So if you're doing that, you're trying to get more people on bikes, you're trying to show the sport in that biggest and best way. So to always have that deeper meaning, that's why you should always, give back. If you have those fans outside the bus, you should always go and speak to them, because what's your job otherwise?
I think when you look at that as a whole, yes, you are right. All of us, we want more people on bikes. But the aim of pro cycling is to win bike races.
I knew there'd be a big fat bot coming from
But it is, though, isn't it? But
yeah.
Like,
and that's his aim as well, ultimately. It's to win bike races for his team. Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing is like your vision of where you want this team to go to support this. Is that really the vision of a pro bike team? Because I don't think it is. I think
can they not do both?
Yes, they can. Of course, they can do both. But what is more important to keep that team running?
I think what happened when the team started, it was really on the up, and it talks about this purpose, which was the charity and Africa and everything. And then, like you say, then it becomes the reality. You get up here, you get some money, and all of a sudden there's a responsibility to perform. And then it was just balancing all these objectives, and some of them were almost like conflicting.
Yeah.
And I think that was the challenge, that it became really difficult to keep everyone happy, if you like the sponsor, everything, and also be true to the purpose, which was what the team was built on. So. But I think you did a good job.
MTN Quebec are represented up towards the front. It was Steve Cummings, the mighty man from MTN Quebec.
It's a late push on Mandela Day for this man. It could be an absolutely glorious day. If Cummings gets over to these guys, they're in trouble, and here he is, up to the Hornets, and sails by. Now, can he just drive on with this one? I can't see the Frenchman catching it. Can anyone catch Steve Cummings? What an amazing performance this is! He ground into the mountain, he's ground all the opposition to dust. Oh, what a delivery! Kapow, he says! Killer blow at the last, blow well delivered, and what an amazing victory!
What does it feel like watching that back?
Well, I don't know. That was a good day, Mandela Day.
Really? What a day to win on.
One thing with Steve, and we were joking about it then, at the back.
Yeah.
Steve was so good at finding his position. We talked about efficiency on how to win. Yeah. He was the master of it. He was
almost everything he knows.
No. Steve was one of these riders that you could always trust if he was in a breakaway to get the most out of that breakaway. And he was so good at doing it. And I think that's what made the win so good. It's even though he looked like at a point he was out of it, coming back, taking the corners as he did, it's classic Steve.
I shouldn't win. If you look at the riders who were in that breakaway, there's no way I should win.
What were you thinking when you were in the break? Who was
San and Yates. Rigo Bertu around. Greg Van Avermaet.
Around was it?
Pino, Bardet.
Was Griffin there as well?
Yeah. It's a Tour de France breakaway. It's typical of a Tour de France breakaway. And you're scratching your head going, how are you going to win up a hill?
With a downhill.
I don't really know how I did win.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
What is going through your head, though, at a breakaway when you've got all that time to think about it all? Can you switch off?
It's almost, the race is always, I always talk about it in 3 phases. In the first phase, when that break's going, establishing, it's very aggressive. The race is really open. And this particular stage, I had to go to my limit and above 3 times just to be in the break, and then it's okay, the break's gone, this is the break for the day. And then personally I was thinking about, okay, who's in this break and what could be the best way to win and what are the likely what the combinations, who's there, and you're trying to like unpick and trying to plan some scenarios that might happen, and then you try to play your card in the best way in the final. In the finals, then you've done all your thinking really, so you just try to react in the best way.
But you're one of those riders who always chose the stage to focus on, right?
Yeah.
Because when I remember you racing, you were either at the back of the bunch or in the breakaway.
Yeah.
Is that?
It was, yeah, I think at the end of the career it was like that, yeah. And that's, people always remember that, but I did spend some of my career in the melee with everyone else.
I did tour at Qatar with Steve once, and it was brilliant. We were in the same team, and it was really windy, and we had one crosswind section. It was day one. We said, Steve, can you ride to the crosswind section for us? And lo and behold, all the way to the crosswind section. No one came round us, got in there first, and then you sort of disappear. We split into crosswinds for about 20 minutes, half an hour, all came back together. He's so good at doing it. But he was one of the few people that you could forget about, but always rely on.
Yeah.
Great. And just to watch, like for me personally, watching Steve, we always talk about when we're together, but like tactics and how stupid people are within bike racing. But it's true though, how stupid people are within bike racing this day still, and how much change they can make like that.
Yeah.
It's bonkers. He's like the master of it. So good.
I don't know about that.
Do you know, I love that celebration as well. You get your 5 fingers up for, well, 4 fingers in the thumb, for the 5,000 bikes, Quebec. Do you know what would have made that celebration even better?
The shimmy.
The funny thing is, when you go from a pro team to a World Tour team, you don't get more money. It costs you more money. Your team's got to get bigger. You got to go to all the Grand Tours, and all of a sudden you just got to have more depth and quality, more infrastructure, more stuff, and that costs more money. And then so, you know, people think, oh, you've moved from the 2nd division to the 1st division, surely you get more money at the box office, and and that was not the case. So we had to get even more investment, and we just lost our partner as MTN. So then we rebuilt with Dimension Data, who came on board as a Jersey partner.
He roars not only for himself, not only for Dimension Data, but for all of Team Africa. Oh, how cool was that?
We were able to continue to rise up the rankings and be a credible team in the World Tour. But it was, you know, going from riding 1 Grand Tour a year to 3, wow. You know, putting a team together to do that is significant. It changes the game completely. I think, you know, money is always a big struggle. I mean, we, the actors in the movie, don't get anything really at the box office, and we survive 100% on sponsorship. So we've got no real other way of earning any revenue into the teams. We don't have stadiums, we don't sell tickets. You know, our stadiums are the open roads of the world, and it's free to watch, which is amazing, you know, on the side of the road. And that's the uniqueness and the beauty of the sport. I mean, you can be almost intimate with a rider. You can touch them, feel them, you know, and be so close to them, which makes the sport absolutely beautiful. And we definitely don't want that to change. But it's a massive challenge. Everybody's fishing in the same fishbowl for partners to try and grow their teams to be bigger, better. But I think the UCI can make things a little bit different. You know, if you've got 20 riders that score points in a team out of 30 riders, then you're gonna hire and resource to be able to do that, to be the #1 team in the world. Whereas in the past, when it was 10 riders, you know, whose points counted for the rankings, then, you know, the depth and the quality could be spread more evenly amongst other teams. And then it would be a closer points battle, and that means it would create a more fair game, I guess, you know, and the teams with the biggest budgets, you know, wouldn't have such a massive, you know, points differential and go to races and, you know, with really strong teams that can win. And would give a bit more fairness to teams that don't have the significant budget. So there's many things that could be done. We don't want to be the biggest budget team in the world. I mean, I think that comes with a massive amount of stress and pressure, because then the expectation is to win, and you could change your values and your culture a little bit because it's all about winning. For us, it's all about opportunity, getting the maximum out of every single individual. So it's realizing the you know, human potential in every single one of our riders, and every single rider has his own story, has his own, you know, way of getting into the sport and what he wants to achieve out of it. And I think that's something that really makes me get up every single day, is how do we get the maximum out of every individual, help them punch above their weight and do things that they never thought possible. And that's, I think, what drives our partnerships together and our sponsors, because they want that intimacy and that detail with the individuals, you know, and they want to be associated with something that is bigger than just the sport and just success.
This is Tom Pidcock's perfect bike race, isn't it, Strade Bianche? This is a huge step forward for Q36.5.
people are attracted to this team because of what it stands for, because people can see that we have fun. We are serious. We take ourselves seriously, but not that seriously. You know, we still have fun and we still give the riders the opportunity to make mistakes. And of course, then we debrief and we understand and then we move forwards. It's not the be all and end all, and there's no pressure to perform. In the past, I think there was a lot of pressure to perform in the sport, and that's when things went wrong. With more budget, we would get more people. So that we can be more professional in certain areas and do more in fan engagement, do more in, you know, in support of the riders, potentially more altitude camps, bringing the riders together, etc. So that's what we do. We'd spend the money on the environment to make it better for the riders to be able to do their best work ultimately, and to give our staff some more support, really. And it would also help us buy and invest in more depth and quality into the team, so that you can be more, you know, you can have a more sustainable team in terms of performance. There's only a handful of riders that are earning really good money. The rest, for what they do, for the effort that they put in, for the risks that they take, the loneliness and the sacrifice, the lettuce leaves in their fridges at altitude, living in a room at 2,500 meters above sea level, that's not fun. For what they earn for doing that, it's nowhere near enough. And I think more prioritization and more money for the riders would make a big difference.
That's why I spooked.
I think if cycling teams could raise a third of their revenue through another way, you know, through either an event, a series, or whatever, media rights or whatever it is, data, etc. If they could raise a third of their money, if you lost a sponsor, you wouldn't be crippled as a team. I think there is a consolidation that needs to happen in teams and in events, and I think we're on the way there. I don't think we should just accept any race at any time, and I do think that the sport needs to grow to the US and into Asia, so that we can attract bigger sponsors, more global partners to the sport, and then it'll grow the piece of cake for all of us to feed from.
Your reaction, Adam, whenever he was talking about the salaries?
Well, yeah, I'm sure Tom Pigbock's really struggling on his €6 million a year when you put that altitude camp. That's no way to live, is it? Put me in that hotel room eating a lettuce leaf for €6 million a year, no problem.
I think it's really funny, right? And I come at this from the standpoint of never having been a professional rider, obviously, and I should say a professional male rider, because the salaries in women's cycling are completely different. I think a lot of the female riders would be very happy to eat that salad leaf, that lettuce leaf, in a hotel room at altitude camp for the salary that the men get.
No one should be eating lettuce leaves.
Yeah, that's true, that's true. But I find it really, I sometimes get a bit uncomfortable with this conversation, because I get it, right? It's a really tough sport. It's really tough on the inside. We need better financial sustainability within the sport. There's definitely so much more growth that can be brought to cycling. I struggle sometimes with the griping about salaries, because I think whenever we compare to soccer salaries, yes, they're very low. When you compare to someone who does a 9-to-5, a soul-crushing job to keep their family afloat and a roof above their head, it's difficult to have that gripe, I think, in a current age of austerity, and I get a bit uncomfortable with that. Am I wrong?
I agree. You have to be happy with it. In the end, it's a dream. It's your choices. No one's putting a gun to your head saying, you have to do this.
Difference between men and women, and the men at the top and the men at the bottom. Like, the guys earning minimum wage will still be at those altitude camps with the guys earning millions. So it's just that disparity. And then you go to the women's side, where there's still women racing World Tour races getting paid nothing. Yeah. So as teams in Amstel, I know that riders aren't getting paid because the teams haven't got the sponsors. So it's having that support, and sponsors can. You have a contract, but they can still drop out, and then that team's left mid-season with no money and not being able to pay riders.
And I wonder as well about that transition, that difficulty of transition from continental teams, pro-Conti teams to World Tour. There are success stories, the likes of Alpecin de Koning. Tudor seem to be making a good fist of it at the minute as well.
I think that's personal sponsorship as well, though. I think if you look at Alpecin, would they still be World Tour without Van der Poel in?
They would now, I would argue, but they might. Exactly. Okay. Yeah. Like he's brought the level up around him anyway, and obviously he has a stake in that team. Yeah. But you know, the likes of Tudor, obviously they have Fabian Cancellara at the helm. He knows what he's doing when it comes to World Tour racing. But
I think that team's doing brilliant. But they have ultimately as well. They've got Tudor, which is the sister company of Rolex. So it's one of the biggest watch companies in the world. It's quite a glamorous sponsor in a kind of way, and they're sponsored by Red Bull and Asos, which is like the creme de la creme of cycling kit. For me, there's like two sides to it. They got invited to the Tour de France. They'll have a VIP tent And the outlook from cycling is you want it to be a bit more glamorous and a bit more fancy and a bit more Formula One, let's say. What looks great? One of the biggest watch brands in the world with a VIP tent there. Well, if you've got people there that have been invited as guests through Tudor to come watch the Tour de France, you might be influential people. David Beckham sponsored by Tudor, you know, he's an ambassador. What if he turned up to the Tour de France? All of a sudden, David Beckham's watching the Tour de France.
Adam has declared that David Beckham is coming for the Tour de France.
No, but you know, like if he's coming, there's going to be so many more eyes on the Tour de France.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, David Beckham's there. What does the Tour de France want?
We need a little bit of again, though, isn't it? Some of the
David
superstars. Superstars coming. You know, we saw, and I didn't like how far it went, but Snoop Dogg coming to the Paris Olympics. Everybody was talking too much about him, quite frankly, rather than the athletes themselves. But a bit of superstar qualities.
This is also the problem, isn't it? With cycling is we've got no stadium. They can't just sit and watch a full game
the
of
finish
cycling.
line, though.
But that's the thing. You put the finish line on top of Alpe d'Huez and you get these riders, get the celebrities, whoever they are, these global superstars, to come and sit down for 2 minutes. It's the right thing to do, but to get someone of that calibre to come along and watch something they don't really know a lot and then explain it to them.
That need to do it.
Yeah, it is the sponsors. You're right. It's the sponsors that need to do it.
Exactly.
Which is how they get to the race.
Yeah.
Also, God, I'm a genius.
Who is the most famous person on your phone? Give them a shout and get them along.
Oh, God, he's there.
Here we are, off on another TNT Times Eurosport Club ride.
Leading the TNT Eurosport Club ride.
And we're in Glasgow.
That looks like Mont Saint-Michel. How beautiful.
Honestly, this community is amazing. Just looking at all the flags.
Australian, mate.
We've all got bobbleheads. And this should be a lot of fun.
Oh, that was such fun. I'm actually going to cry.
You and your crying.
Do you know why I know? Because I've been training by myself and it's really quite hard. And then whenever people are being really nice to you on Zwift, I find it really touching. And people are being like encouraging and stuff. And I just think it's
TNT bills are through the roof. Bots at the minute. Got a little thumbs up.
You're being genuine.
They are being genuine bots. I'm only joking. You're doing well, actually. How's it all going?
I don't know.
Well, that's
I feel just as you asked me that, my tummy sort of dropped. I'm actually really nervous about it. I'm really nervous because I don't know. I actually don't even know what ready is supposed to feel or look like. Do you know what I mean? I've no idea.
Great, you might be ready now.
Probably not, to be fair. No, because I was in Ireland for the last week and I didn't have access to Zwift, so I was on my mum's little home trainer in the conservatory and I had nothing to follow along on, and it was just really hard. I was really bored. I thought, I'm going to get bored because this ride's going to take me 14 hours.
Story of my life. It is hard, though, isn't it, training on your own?
I know, which is why I love the Zwift sessions, because then at least I get to hang out with people, get some buddies.
So what's the max time you've done training?
Oh, no, I've done over an hour now. I've done a ride that was supposed to take an hour and it took me an hour and 7 or something.
And how long do you think the event's going to take?
I actually think it will take, I was trying to work this out. Was it 6 or 8 hours?
6 or 8, that's a big difference. That is a massive difference.
I don't know how I'm going to know when I'm ready. I don't know how long it's going to take.
Let's say 7 hours.
How many K is it?
It's don't laugh at me as well, because whenever I say this to people who ride, they think the distance is nothing. 113K or 112, 113K, but it's 3,500 metres of climbing.
Which climb is you do?
The Madeleine is what I finish on. Yeah, exactly.
I'll forgive you, but I'm not sure that I called the Madeleine. I'll forgive you. And it's August...
2nd or 3rd? 2nd, I think.
Oh, you got time.
Yeah, I've got less than 100 days, though.
100 days?
If you're doing an hour, really.
100 days.
I never train more than 100 days and I was fit. You can get
really... Point, you were fit.
No, but you can get really fit.
In his entire career.
You can get really fit in 100 days.
Yeah, I've trained every day, which I'm not going to.
Even if you
run at the gym still, though.
Yeah, what are your excuses? Good point.
2 kids is my excuse. And a dog.
Run with a dog.
Yeah.
I think 100 days is loads, Orla.
Yeah, okay.
Even if you did 50 days, that's still a lot.
Well, you come out riding with me during the Giro.
Not a chance.
No.
Yeah, of course I will.
If you can get 2 hours on your trainer, you're good to go, aren't you?
And just fuel enough. Jealous.
Yeah. Anyway, Liege-Bastogne-Liege coming up next. What do we think?
Be interesting. Very interesting. I think...
Tadej is going for back-to-back, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he'll win.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
So not that interesting then?
I think it'll be interesting. It'll be closer than what we expect, but I still think he'll win.
Yeah.
I reckon Remco.
Do you? Because he was the winner from 23, isn't he? And clearly in good form.
Yeah, no.
Why do you think Remco?
More arrow. I know he's come back strong, and yeah, he was going well at Fleche, but wasn't quite on it.
Not quite. Top 10, I think, anyway, though.
Yeah, he was better.
Yeah.
I just can't see. I think with Amstel, Tadej made a mistake and he just went too early. Because if you look at that attack he did, no one even tried to follow. It was only till they got over the top of that climb and they started to follow.
I was thinking about this actually, because he didn't actually attack. He followed Alaphilippe.
Yeah.
And then he was like, and then Alaphilippe
What should I
cracked,
do?
and then it's like,
Yeah.
what you do?
Well, I think that, and I think if you look at Fleche that's just gone, it's just one climb again. It takes one climb to put that.
But he did know that climb obviously is coming at the very end and how steep it is. So he knows he can make a difference there.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, he knows he can do that on pretty much any climb.
Yeah.
Like, he'll be able to drop Remco, with all due respect to Remco, on a climb like that in Liège. There's La Redoute, which is a bit further out, but I think he can take Remco away with him and still be able to drop him near the finish, or even just beat him in a sprint like he did already. But it'll be close, I think, but I still think Tadej.
The women's race is stacked, and this is what I'm loving about the women's calendar right now. We've talked about this before with One Cycling trying to sort of streamline and consolidate the racing calendar so that all the best riders are turning up to all the biggest races. And I feel like we just already have that in the women's peloton. And if you look at who's supposed to start at Liège anyway? You've got Demi, you've got Anna van der Breggen, presuming she recovers from a crash. You've got Elisa, you've got Lotta, you've got Puck Peterson, Cassia. It's all the big guns turning out, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. And again, SD works with a very strong team. Lorena could still possibly be in the team, and you never know when it comes down to a sprint with her climbing.
And then we've got Tour of Romandy. You're going to head out to that, aren't you?
Going to Romandy.
Yeah. So what's your team like?
Plappy. Solid. And then we've got a young rider called Foldiger, who's got an amazing sprint, like 1 minute kind of power.
What are we talking?
Can't divulge that kind of.
What is your style as a sports director in the car? You were saying earlier that you had to drop back in that stage. That stage, to tell it DSs to calm down. What's your style in the car?
Well, you try to give the rider what the rider wants.
Yeah.
But I guess my personal style is always I prefer to give information
rather than encouragement.
That's useful. But I mean, some riders ask for example, in Romandy, which was I think it was my second race as a sports director. Sir Dave was there, and
Sir Dave Brailsford. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was following Richie, and Richie said, "Are we allowed to swear or not?" So it was like,
I think we can swear.
So you're following Richie Port.
So Richie's come to the car, and he's. I said, "Do you want anything specific?" And he said, "Yeah, you need to call me as much as you can, like swear at me." And I was like, "Oh, all right, yeah."
What, like make me feel awful?
Yeah, just swear at me, abuse me, kind of thing. So,
did you think for a second he could have been joking though? Or
no. Anyway, the next thing is Richie goes to the start ramp, and the next thing is Dave jumps in the car. So it's just me and Dave, and I didn't really have time to explain to Dave like what Richie had asked for. So I could see Dave was in the corner, like getting quite uncomfortable.
You're on the radio calling him all sorts of names.
Yeah. And then at the end of the race, Dave, he was pretty quiet. I think he was like, "Oh my God, I've sat in like a psychopath."
So were you two heading back up the road together then? Car sharing again?
Oh, aye. Got a lot of services to stop at.
Do you?
Good.
French service station's hard to beat.
Easily.
Any French service station?
Are you kidding me?
What?
Any Italian service station?
No.
Easily.
No way. You see all the little trinkets and gifts you can buy in a French service station? And like a deck chair and a lilo and stuff.
Because that's what you need in a service station. That's exactly that.
Anyway, get off to the service station for goodness sake.
I'm not buying a lilo.